All right, we are back. I'm gonna check my audio really quick. My mic was giving me kind of an issue. Sounds like it's still working just fine. My mic was giving me a weird issue for some reason, so I don't really know what to make of that. It was honestly kind of a short break, if I'm being perfectly honest, but it was enough for me to stand up and go get some water. That's okay. It's gonna take a while to get into a match anyway. And I'm still recouping a little bit from Valorant. Oh, man. The thing about Valorant is just that, like, I did kind of explain a little bit about it, but I just don't want to play Valorant, I think, again. At the very low end of it, uh, at least not on stream. Because I can't concentrate when I'm playing that game on talking and sitting down and playing the game. It just can't, it just doesn't happen, you know? I just can't mentally bring myself to focus. So I just don't think we're going to be able to sit down and play Valorant. We're going to cool down with some Apex. We're going to be playing some competitive Apex, which I know sounds weird, but again, it just requires so much hyper concentration playing Valorant that it just takes too much out of me. It just takes way too much out of me, you know. Um, So we gotta do something else interesting. I gotta make up for it a little bit by playing Apex. Um, so again though, I think the things that I don't like is that it's trying way too much to be like CS:GO, you know, and not that CS:GO is a bad game, not even really ultimately that Valorant's a bad game. Let me just start by saying I do think Valorant is a decent game, and I think it is kind of fun, and I certainly have had fun playing it. I'm just super. It's just not my thing, I guess, because so much of it is just like, there's a guy there, shoot, you know, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, you know. Like, there's no strategy, there's no, like, planning, there's not really a lot that's overly involved with it. I feel like. I'm sure there is some elements to it, but if you're just playing alone, it's kind of like whatever at the end of the day, man. Like, you kind of just feel like you're completely on your own with everything, you know? Which just kind of makes things difficult, I feel like. But, yeah, again, I just don't like a lot of the mechanics. I don't like the money system, because basically all you have to do is just try and get the two really good machine guns. That's the only thing you really can do, or what people think you should do, you know? Which is kind of annoying enough in its own right. And then on top of that, you have to contend with the reality that, like, maybe I'll just keep this set up. I don't know. And then you have to contend with the reality that, like, there's, you know, there's just, I just hate it. I don't know. I don't like their money system for getting weapons and things. I think it's annoying, you know, because if you do really good, you get more money, you know. But if you don't get, you know, if you don't do really good, then you get less money, you know, and so, like, you only do really well if you do really, really well, and so, like, it's just always a steamroll one way or another. And I realize a lot of games and games that I have played are, like, 50-50, but it just feels like it's way too much, like, one-sided at the end of the day. And then it's very easy to mess up. It's like die once and just sit around and do nothing for 30 minutes. Which I kind of don't like that style of gameplay on some level. I know I do like to sit down and, like, watch YouTube and stuff on the side usually, but I don't know. I don't really feel like I'm into it. I just haven't really been able to get into it, it seems. So, I don't know. I hate the mechanic too of, like, if you get shot, you just stand in place and you just have to watch as the other dude gets an easy shot on you now, you know? So it's just very annoying, I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. If I keep going, I'm gonna just keep complaining about Valorant, which is just kind of whatever. I know there's certainly plenty of people who think that Apex is just kind of bad, but I don't know. I think Apex is a lot more preferable to me than just a lot of other things, man. Open your supply bins. Open your supply bins. Open your supply bins. It's stuff just for you and your loadout. So yeah. Oh, I did want to talk a little bit more about Kosh, please. Please. You're killing me, my man. I did want to talk a little bit more about it because I was like actually very impressed with Spy X Family. Because in the first scene, the dude is like, well, not in the very first scene, but in like the first couple scenes, he's sitting on a train, and they animate the family behind him, with like the kid just sitting there bouncing around, you know. But they do it in the reflection of the train window, you know. So you're sitting here looking at this reflection, and they sat and animated these like characters we will never see again, just like to be in the reflection of the window, you know, where like all they really did super have to do was just, you know, in order to animate it, all they had to do was just sit back and be like, oh, yeah, he could just look through the window, and the window is just this beautiful painting that we just scroll across or whatever. But it's just so cool. I thought it was really cool. But then there was also parts of it too that I thought were just kind of like meh, because there was this moment where the little girl was kind of like dancing around, and it looked like it was like 5 frames, you know? It looked like it was literally 5 frames of animation. And it probably honestly was. But you could just like see it felt just so chunky sitting and watching it. And I know it's like, oh, not 60 frames a second, oh. But it's like it didn't even feel like it was 12 frames a second. It felt like it was literally like 3 frames a second of animation. Alright.
Confirm kill. Half toast. Eyes is down.
Let's see, what did they have? Wants me in the building? Lick and shove it. I know what I'm doing.
Contact.
I know what I'm doing. I'm not that great at the game, but I know what I'm doing. Why didn't he take the zip?
That was the whole charging shields. Come on.
There's a lot of dead bodies here. And we're 9 squads in, so we're definitely going to get points. We got plus 15 already. Yes. Sorry, I am a little tired today. I think part of it was Valorant just kind of really just kind of upsetting me on some level. I think part of it also was just that, like, I'm just tired from moving people around, you know?
Give my shields a recharge. Zipline. Opponent over here. Taking fire. Off the way. I'm spotted. Smoke out. Shush now.
How'd you let him get that close? Was he still downed? oh! From where? Is that another team? Oh, that was another team. Oh, for Pete's sakes, we just got squished. Ah, that's not cool. That's such a messed up round. But we got some points, which I'm excited about, because we only lost points last time. Plus 20. Let's go. But needless to say, I was both impressed, but like weirdly unimpressed with it at the same time. Because I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. They animated these like background characters in the scene, you know, just to be a reflection. And then they sit back and they're like, but the main character dancing around, she gets 3 frames. And it's like, okay. I don't know. I just felt like it was weird. I think they could have easily doubled the frames for just that little spin that she does to make her look a little bit nicer. But that's just me. There's a lot, and I know there's a lot behind animation and how much it costs and all those things, but you know, and I also found out too that there was a controversy on Twitter of all places. I mean, right? But there was a controversy about the show on Twitter because somebody tweeted that they felt like the little girl was being sexualized by the dad because he picks her up in one scene and just kind of like spins around and is like, I'm happy that you got into the class because not only is that great for you as a person, but it's also required for my mission that you get into the school, you know? Right? And he just picks her up like any other normal girl, you know? And then there's just people on Twitter just being like, I don't even know if it's people. I think it was just a one person who just had a terrible take and a decent amount of followers who sat down and was just like, yeah, there's so much sexualization in anime. Oh, wow. Look at this nonsense. And it's like, nothing sexual is happening in that scene. Nothing sexual at all is happening in the scene. At all. Like, there's probably more sexualization, I'm sure, further on in the show with the mom being introduced than there probably ever has been with anything else in it so far. But I just thought it was kind of crazy. Kind of like, what are you on about, you know? This was ages ago, though, too. I think it was like months ago, back when it first came out. Oh, we're landing with 2 other people. I think it's actually kind of cool that they show that you're landing next to people now, because it is super annoying when you're just kind of like landing and it's like, you know, anybody gonna sit down and cause us issues, or? Turns out, maybe. Gosh. Aim. I'll admit that was only my aim. Whoa, 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 whoa! I got flopped on. How did they get up there?
Charging shields. Come on, compadre, get
They're on the roof. Be careful. Okay, admittedly that was bad. So we're 5 points up net, though. Right? Am I right? We're gonna lose points today. We're gonna lose points. No! Ooh. They keep putting us with silver people, even though I'm bottom rank bronze. So I don't even know why they're doing this. Why are they doing this with their competitive thing, man? It's just kind of annoying. I'd rather be silver fighting people in silver rank, not bottom of the barrel bronze. I think you have to get to 1500 RP. It's like, come on. Come on. It's a lot of wins. So you can get like more or less, I think, roughly 200 points per game. Not maximum. I know you can get a little bit more than 200, but roughly speaking, if you get first place and get a good couple kills, you get about 200 points. which means that you have to do at least about 7 or 8 wins. 7 or 8 wins to get to 1,500 points. You know? And it's just like, this is ridiculous. Because it's 5 just to get to 1,000. And then it's like 2.5 to get to the extra 500. So it's just like, dude, you either play 30 rounds and get like very small amounts of points, or you get literally, again, like 8 plus wins. You know? This is kind of crazy. But I don't know, I guess there's definitely people out there who are crazy much better at this game than I am, and who definitely play it a lot more than I do or ever will. Even though I have, like, I think 500 some odd hours in Apex at this point. Not that that's like a moniker of how good I am at the game, because I consistently mess up. Because I just get days like today where it's just like I'm tired. I don't want to sit down and be a mastermind. I just want to sit and play some Apex, dang it! I don't have to be good. Just, I have to, all I want is a good time. But anyway. Oh, you know what I also thought was kind of annoying about helping my brother move? Not that I thought really there was much that was annoying about helping my brother move, but in particular, I thought it was kind of annoying because, like, my brother apparently felt that it was worth his time to keep and to hold on to a, it's basically this, like, paper cardboard, like, shelf thing, essentially. You know? So it's, or not a shelf, sorry. It's just like a set of drawers, but it's just done with paper and like card stock kind of stuff, you know? And it was all ripped and torn up, so it wasn't even like good to go or anything, you know? But we have had that in our family. This little paper thing, we've had it in our family since before I was born, which was like a good while ago, you know? And even then, like, even, you know, more than that, right? And my brother is still rocking around with it like, that's fine, this is all fine. And it's like, dude, this is like a paper box from, what, the 80s or something? This, like, 80s paper box, you're still rocking around with it, you know? And he's just like, oh, it's fine, it's cool, you know? Oh, sniper? No. R99. So, I don't know. For me, it was just one of those moments where it's like, dude, are you okay? Do you need, like... I know he doesn't need money. Like, he bought a decently expensive house, you know? So I know he doesn't need money, but it's also one of those things, too, where it's like, you kept a paper shelf box kind of cabinet thing, you know?
Let's go that way. I've spotted an enemy.
Right? And he's just been holding on to this for, like, forever. I don't even know how it got into his hands to begin with.
I hear you.
So, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, dude, you need some help or something, because, like, this is unacceptable. Why do you still own this paper box from the 80s? Like, get real, man. This is a little ridiculous.
Got an optics here. Sniper.
I can use that. Gotta hop up here. Boosted loader.
I can use that, I think. I can use it on the Peacekeeper.
Merci, Dr. Caustic.
So somebody was in here, huh? I can't close off the whole thing.
Thank you.
I close up big door. Big door closing. You know what I think is kind of annoying that they haven't brought back for a modern age? And for, like, modern kids and stuff? Is Winnie the Pooh. I feel like that's one of the things that should be brought back, don't you? Right? Like, I feel like Winnie the Pooh was much more accessible and a lot less scary and weird compared to some of the other kids shows that are out there. You know, especially even the modern ones, you know? Like modern ones and even old ones. I think that Winnie the Pooh was just a little bit more acceptable at the end of the day. I don't know. I mean, like when it's going up against things like Teletubbies, right? Where it's just a bunch of creepy, bulbous creatures running around
Yes.
that are all, you know, colorful or whatever. And then they have this like big creepy like post-apocalyptic like speakerphone come out and be like, "It's time to eat, Teletubbies." You know, it's the freakiest thing on the planet. Um, but you know, they just like, oh, whatever. You know, Teletubbies, right? Like that's a thing. You know. We're at 14 squads left. But we also can't sit around and do nothing.
Never mind. Subject spotted there.
Let's go here. I take that back.
Well, I gotta run all the way back up here, man. What are you on about? Yeah, you got Teletubbies. You know, I'm honestly gonna say it. Rugrats was a little weird. I brought this up in a previous stream because they were sitting and down and doing a 3D animated series of it on Paramount Plus. But it's just like there's a lot of wild kids shows out there, man.
There's a jump pad here.
So I just don't know what to make of it at the end of the day, man. But I felt like Winnie the Pooh was very accessible because it's just a bunch of cute little animal figures running around in the forest, having a good time, hanging out with their friend Christopher Robin, you know.
Spotted a subject over there.
Did I? Oh, I can't use that. Whatever. Guys, I do not sniper. I do not have the sniper rifle. They are in the midst of combat, though, aren't they?
Subject is seized.
Really? Nice.
Let's go. I spotted an enemy.
Reloading.
Enemy over there. I see an opponent.
We're right on the edge of the ring, so hopefully we can catch them at the end of when they come on back.
I spotted an enemy.
Reckon we should go here. Target spotted.
I'm going to
I think we
defend
should
this
just
area.
wait for the ring. I just wait for the ring. Because they're gonna come to us and they're gonna be all hurt and having issues.
Spotted a subject right here. I retract that. Gas trap deployed. Trap set and waiting.
New kill leader appointed.
I'm going to scan that area for movement.
Traps gotta hop up here. Spotted one.
This is a bad situation. I did not mean to jump down from there.
Cracked a subject.
Oh, there's people up here?
Independent variable.
Oh, that's not good.
I will survey this area.
He took it back. He said there wasn't people over here. He lied to me. He lied to me. Oh, I tried looking up to see if I could find an easy place to find, like, Unity games. Just like user-made style Unity game things. Didn't find many. Unity's website is apparently not a good place to find that kind of thing. Ugh, really?
Tossing an actor. Hold on. Let me
I got stuck on the desk. No. Ah. Now I'm upset. Maybe I should stop streaming. I'm tired and upset. I'm losing points left and right. Ah, now I'm upset. And I don't really know what to talk about because I more or less talked about moving my brother the whole day. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, I did promise that I was going to talk more about my path to finding anime yesterday. I could talk about that for a minute. So, just a recap. Essentially, when I was very young, Pokemon was like my first intro, but I didn't understand that anime was anime. I thought that anime was just another form of a cartoon that just like was American. And so 4Kids came along. I sat down and started watching One Piece with 4Kids. They got to the Skypiea arc of One Piece, and I thought it was really cool. So I held on to that idea for a long time, got a laptop, didn't really know what to do, but I went to the library and there was a bunch of One Piece there. So I sat down, watched One Piece for a good number of months, until I basically got myself tired with One Piece, and then I sat down and started watching Hulu, right? This all has to come back to the fact that I found this like Hulu code while I was doing some spring cleaning. But Hulu is where I really did start to sit down and get into anime, which is also why I'm extraordinarily upset that Hulu moved their whole library to a pay-to-play model. And not to mention the fact, right? Because I was looking at it today, not to mention the fact that even if you pay for their platform, and I think it's like $7.99 a month or something like that, it's not an insignificant amount of money. Mind you, it's like a sandwich worth of money every month, but it's not an insignificant amount of money every month to sit down and spend on Hulu. And you also have to sit and deal with their ads. Are you kidding me? Dude, I got flattened. I got flattened. That's upsetting. You better be good with Seer, man. Hopefully he is. Nope, I guess not. We're gonna lose so many points! No, we're gonna be just stone rank forever. Stone rank forever! So long story short, I'm upset at Hulu because it's a sandwich amounts of money every month, sure, but then you also have to watch ads with it, which is ridiculous. It's just, not only are you going to waste my time, but you also are going to ask for money. Like, ads aren't enough. And then the other thing that's upsetting to me too is it's like, I think the amount of money that you have to pay to not watch it with ads is like double that, right? And so it's like $14-16.99 or something a month. And it's just like, so for you must be making, right, like $7 something an hour or $7 something a month on viewers to have them sit and watch ads, because there's no way that they're sitting down and asking double for not having ads, per month, right? And it's just like, it's just ridiculous, man. I don't know if people just like abused the system or something so much, and they were just like, no, we're just, whatever, right? We're just gonna ask for double to get rid of ads. And for me, it's just like, just get rid of the ads. Just get rid of all the ads. Put little sidebar ads on there or whatever if you want to, but just get rid of the ads option, man. Just get rid of it. Maybe keep it for like the people who are students, and the students want a cheaper option, and so they could sit down and watch it for cheaper, but with ads, but like, just get rid of the ads option. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, back in the day when you didn't have to pay for it and watch ads, you could just sit down and watch ads to sit and like watch stuff on Hulu. And surprisingly, they had a lot of anime on there, especially One Piece. So that's where I sat down and got my One Piece fix for quite some time. I think I watched like upwards of 100 episodes on Hulu of One Piece. But I was kind of like bored with anime, and I did kind of burn myself out with anime, especially with One Piece. And so I basically was just like, man, I love this anime thing, especially at least One Piece. Is there anything else like One Piece out there, right? And so I started looking at all the other anime that they had, and I just really didn't care, but I came across Steins Gate. I don't know if you guys have seen Steins Gate, but I love Steins Gate, man. It is the thing that got me to stick around with anime, because if I just got burnt out with One Piece, oh, are you serious? Oh, are you serious? It kicked me out of Apex. Are you serious? Are you serious? I just landed and it kicked me out. Ah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Whatever, man. Whatever. But anyway, Steins Gate was just, it was such a cool show to me because you have this scientist, like quote unquote mad scientist, dude. And he's just like, you can tell, I don't know if he has some kind of like mental condition or something like that, or is on the spectrum, or you know, like, or if he really has that kind of an issue or something, but he definitely has some kind of an issue, right? And so it's just like, it's just him living in an apartment with this other dude who's willing to put up with him and his weirdness, and then this very cute girl called Mayuri, who they all kind of like sit down and um, they kind of indulge him, right? Like they just indulge him. They're like, you know what? Maybe he's on to something with this time traveling thing or whatever. Mayuri's just there because she thinks he's a sweet guy and he's just fun to hang out with. But the other dude is like in on it. He's like, "Oh man, we got this. This is a thing, you know?" Oh, are you kidding me? Oh no! What's the point? I could have just not taken the point loss. I should have just not. Ha! That is upsetting. It kicks me out of the game, and then it just drops me back in to lose points. This is ridiculous. Competitive in this game is a little ridiculous. Am I even playing? Did it kick me out of competitive just because it's like I lost too many points or something for the day? What the heck? But anyway, it's about this like self-proclaimed mad scientist who happens to find out that there's like this weird anomaly going on where he lives. And this microwave that he has will sit down and like turn whatever you put into it into like weird green goo. And you know, he's crazy. He's kind of like crazy, but he's also like somewhat intelligent, and like he understands science and math and those kinds of things a little bit. But he's still crazy, you know, like he's still kind of a crazy guy. And so he like goes on this huge like, you know, hypothesis kind of like almost schizophrenic kind of like rant about like how at CERN, you know, like the CERN Hadron Collider in Switzerland. I think it's Switzerland. How them and their organization are trying to figure out how to time travel so that they can undermine the rest of all mankind, and they can just take control of the entirety of the world, you know, by using this like, you know, time travel method. And so he's like, you know, it sounds all crazy and it sounds all weird for like a very hot minute, but then like the story goes on a little bit more, and they meet Kirasu, who is this actual like well-established scientist person. I don't know what to do without that. I can't believe another team is landing somewhat near us. But she is like this somewhat, you know, established scientist in this field that he's going all crazy about, you know. And so he goes to a meeting that she's holding in Japan about the subject, you know, and he just starts going off on her like, you don't know what you're talking about, like CERN and all this stuff, and I have all these hypotheses about how, you know, time travel works, and you're just, you know, not even touching on it, and like he's getting all upset because like obviously he has this like, at least it initially is kind of a delusion, you know, it's kind of a delusional series of thoughts that he's having about it, you know. And she's like, no, you're crazy, you're wild, you're a wacko, you know, right? And you know, like, well met, right? But and so he like goes down this corridor and he finds out like, oh man, like, you know, this girl is dead in like this little room, you know, like down the hallway, right? Like, how did that happen? And so he goes into this like shock kind of moment for a minute, and he's like, what is happening? And so he tries to connect it to like, this is the doing of CERN, like what's happening, and he like loses his mind a little bit, even more so than his mad scientist crazy situation, you know. And then he's like, what are we gonna do? What is this all about? What does this mean, you know? And so he's just like, this is wild. And so Kirisu sits down and she's like, what is this crazy guy on about? He's being rude, he's being mean. You know, they try to play her as like a stereotypical American kind of person. So, you know, she's supposed to be this like independent feeling kind of like person where it's like, she knows what she's out about, she knows what she wants, and she's like rude and tood and like all these things, you know. So she confronts the main character, right? And she's all like, if you're so hot and bothered about, you know, how I feel about this because CERN or some stupid something, you know, then why don't you go ahead and walk me through it, Mr. Man, you know? This is so upsetting. I'm losing so many points today. And so she's like, just, you know, you tell me what's what, Mr. Man, right? And so he starts going over all this, like, wackadoo nonsense that he's been on about forever. And he kind of just, no, bad. Whatever. So he starts going on about all this nonsense, and he shows her that, like, at this specific moment, at this specific time, if he runs his microwave and, like, also connects to the internet or does some, like, weird series of things that when he puts stuff into the microwave, it sends him through time, you know? And then she's like, whoa, this is wild, you know? I don't know about this whole CERN, like, you know, shadow government kind of thing going on, but this guy's onto something. He puts these bananas in the microwave and they turn into green goo, you know, like, what's going on there? And so she starts sitting there going like, maybe there is something to this time travel thing that this wackadoo's talking about, and he just stumbled upon this like way to sit down and deal with it. So she joins in the crew now, and now there's like this big group of people all hanging out and just doing whatever, right? And so they start creeping in closer and closer to figuring out like why the microwave does it at the time that it does it. Why all these things happened, you know? Why after he woke up, the hall that they the like what do you call it? Like convention hall, kind of like a convention hall kind of thing, but it's just like a building that they all meet in. But like they're trying to figure out like why did this building just like stop being a thing, you know? Like why did they have to shut it down, you know? There was like supposedly a meteor that hit in Japan or something, or some crazy something, or someone saw a satellite that crashed on top of this building and like now it's gone, and you know they're trying to figure out this mystery of the satellite thing and all this nonsense, and you know our main guy is trying to sit down and figure out like what's going on with CERN and all these things, you know. What's he on about, Drakefire? And it's just super interesting. And then that's where it starts to get like a little bit too complex outside of my bounds. And then I'm also going to sit down and probably end up spoiling a lot of it too, because it really tries extra hard to be like an M. Night Shyamalan, like twist upon a twist kind of thing, which I think for me, it works. Like, I normally hate that kind of like M. Night Shyamalan kind of thing where like you end up sitting down and just creating this weird series of events of like, this thing is happening because of this reason, and like, you know, like, oh, whoops, this is actually real, you know, like, you know, all these things that they were talking about, super real, and then they find out more about it, and they're like, psych, it's kind of real, but not actually real, you know. And it's like, could you just make up your mind, you know? And so they do a little bit of that, but it just really works in this series for some reason, because it's just structured so well that it just plays itself super well. Which is honestly kind of surprising, because I do kind of hate M. Night Shyamalan kind of style twists in movies, media of any kind, because it's like, it doesn't take a lot of like mental effort to make like some crazy twist that happens in a story that you'll never believe the twist that happens. And it's like, you know what? I probably won't believe whatever twist ends up happening, because it probably is just something they came up with and they were like, how do we fit it into the story? You know? So that kind of stuff happens all the time, and I'm not the biggest fan, but it just works so well with it. So I just really, really enjoy the show. But apparently it's based on like a visual novel. Like the whole story is based on this visual novel where you're supposed to go around, and I don't know if the goal is to romance the characters in the visual novel or if it is just to play out certain decision-making points in it. And so there's the time travel thing is like an explanation to discuss like how different actions that the player takes in the visual novel game that it's based on, you know, can all happen within the same universe. And so they took all of the different endings that happen in the visual novel and they put them all together in the show, and then they sat down and used like time travel as an explanation for it, even though it's like still also an element of the story in the visual novel, you know. And so it's just so wild to me that like they were able to sit down and put together this extremely cohesive story that's just interesting, you know. It's just super interesting. So if you haven't seen it, you should definitely go watch it. It's Steins Gate. I haven't really spoiled too much. I think I've only really like covered the plot up to like episode 3 or 4. And it's animated very well. It's animated in like this like weird like pseudo drawn kind of style, you know, like it's trying to be digital, but like it's also like a painting, like kind of a comic booky style to it. And so I just find it really interesting, ultimately. So you should definitely go check it out. The only hang up that I have is that I ran into a situation with watching the follow-up show that they created with it, where... Oh, thank you so much. That's exactly what I was looking for. I got hung up on the follow-up show that they were trying to make with it, where they discuss what happens at the end of the events of the first like season. And then they just go off the deep end and they start creating this entirely different and wild scenario. But it like still all ties back into the whole like conspiracy thing that they have going on. So it's definitely interesting watching, but it's also one of those things where I just kind of stopped being so heavy set on it, because it just didn't have the same, it just didn't hit me in the same way, I guess. And it probably is just because the main character in the second season, and I'm not gonna spoil why, but he's just like depressed through the whole thing, you know. And so instead of it being this like nice light romp discovery moment where it's like, ah, he's discovering more about the main story and the motivations of different characters, and whoa, you know, it just turns into this like life is meaningless kind of like moment, and I just really didn't gravitate to the follow-up season quite nearly as much. I watched a lot of it, but I kind of stopped watching like I think 3/4 of the way through just because it was very difficult to watch because it was always this like sad, like I'm sad and I have a good reason for it, but I'm just sad. And it's like, okay, maybe try not being sad or something. Something. You know what I mean? But uh,
I spotted
let's get up here.
I'm taking damage. Fence in position. Just topping up my shields.
Oh,
I'm fencing. I just bring down a fence. Fence them in. Fence them out.
Are they still over there? Dude, I need to get an eye on where they are. There they are. I gotta hit him if I'm gonna be effective at all. So yeah, so I mean, obviously I'm passionate about it because it's the thing that kept me in anime for so long. Oh, you should have kept moving, guy. Ah, almost got him. So it's the thing that kept me in anime for many, many years. And then from there, I watched on Hulu School Rumble, which was a fantastic show. It's very much one of the things where like, oh, I need two? Oh, that's stupid. When did that happen? I thought you only ever needed the one. Where is he going? What is he doing?
Replicators coming in.
I used all of that in my ultimate. Okay, we're gonna replicate accelerant. But from there I watched School Rumble, which is absolutely incredible. If you guys can handle dealing with, if you guys can handle dealing with high school type antic shows, I think it's something that's super worth your time. Because I think it's hilarious. The main character is like trying to become a manga artist while like also going to school, but he's like a deviant, and so there's like elements of his deviantness that kind of shine through. And it is this like, I probably shouldn't have. Oh, my friends are not even over here anymore.
Go here. We got violence to do.
Thanks for letting me know.
The squads have cocked it, fellas.
But anyway, it's this it's a rom-com. So like bear with me. I know it's a rom-com and it's like kind of ridiculous, but they more so focus on the comedy side of it, and the romantic side of it is just kind of like, it's just the reason. You know, it's just the reason that action happens. You know, like nothing about it is like actually romantic. There's not even like heavy, you know, like moments of romance or anything. And so it's more just like a high school show that's just funny, that has it's cringy on some level because like the main girl character, she loves this dude who's just this like He's this crazy... I would say, like, if you imagined what an anime character should be, that's, like, super Japanese, you know? You would imagine this character, right? Like, he's very, very, like, reclusive, and everything has to be super perfect, and he just fits the bill of being perfect, and so, like, he never really has to worry about that kind of thing.
Let's go that way. I've spotted an enemy. Feels that charge in the air? I'm in trouble.
I see you dancing there. I see you, bud. Am I a little low? 400.
Package coming in.
Here. We've got violence to do.
I'm in trouble.
But it's just a great show. So she... Sorry. So she loves this guy who, like, doesn't care about anything. You know? Like,
Fence placed.
he just does not care anything about her feelings or anything, because he's just like, life's life, right? Put the thing down! Oh, she came around the corner at the wrong time. No! Wait, that was Maggie, then who came around the corner? Ash? Nah. So he's just like a high school Japanese kid, like to the max. He gets perfect grades. He's got this like perfect hairdo. Everything is just like amazing and perfect, and he's just this incredible guy, right? And she falls in love with him because she thinks that he was the one that saved her from like a dangerous situation. But it turned out to be that, like, Karasuma, the other character in the love triangle that's happening, he's the one that actually saved her. It's just that the one dude was like passing by, and she's like, "Whoa, you saved me! You're so incredible," you know. But Karasuma is just kind of sitting there going like, that was me," and so he falls in love with her, and he's like, "Now I don't know what to do, right? Like, I'm this vagrant, I'm this whatever," and so like, because he falls in love with her, he finds purpose in life, and he's like, I've got to go back to school. I gotta become a better man so that I can, like, face her, and, like, so I could so I could sit down and, like, tell her how I feel, right? And then he finds out he's going to the same school as her, and then he's like, "Whoa, no way!" And so, like, he goes to the school, and then antics ensue. I'm gonna say antics ensue because it's basically everything that you can imagine with a high school anime kind of thing, you know? They have, like, their beach episode. They have their trip episode where they, like, all go on a school trip. They have their hot springs episode. I think they have a hot springs episode. They have their, school festival episode kind of thing, So it is just like anything and everything that you can imagine is like school, kind of like anime school TV show. But it really is something else. Because the way that it is so just like blatant about the way that it approaches its comedy and the way that it approaches how they do character development, that it is just really funny. I think that it's really funny, especially in English. I don't know how it is in subbed, so, like, bear with me if you sit down and watch the subbed version. I don't know how good it is, but the English version is just on point, because the voice actor, he has just the perfect level of ire in his voice, where it's just like, "Oh, Tenma, like, I gotta save you," or like, "Whoa," And so he's got just the perfect inflection for the character and the type of story that's happening with it. And I absolutely adore the show. I absolutely adore the show. And I would honestly recommend anybody sit down and watch it. It is, again, you gotta know what you're getting into. It's just a high school anime with weird antics, right? And it's really old too. It's like pre-2000, I think. You know, so it's definitely something that's like, you know, you wouldn't find it unless you really were just like scrolling through all the animes. But I still think it's such a good show that like you really should watch it. If you have a chance and you're like, I don't know what to watch, right? You really should sit down and watch School Rumble. I love it to death. It is a cult classic. If you find anybody else who likes the show, they're all going to be sitting there saying like, this is a cult classic, you know? Because there really isn't a lot more to it. It is just kind of like a funny, haha, like romantic comedy anime thing, you know? So there's not really a whole lot to it. It's just funny episodes and funny characters doing funny things. But I just love it. And then halfway through, not to spoil anything, but the love triangle becomes a love square. I don't know if there's something else to describe that kind of thing happening, but the love triangle basically becomes a love square at some point. And it just makes it so funny. I just love the characters so much because the delivery of the characters in English is just spot on, man. It is just spot on. So yeah, again, if you have nothing to watch and you really just need something weird and wild, then sit down and watch School Rumble, man. But yeah, so effectively those two shows were what kept me in anime because Steins Gate basically proved to me that anime could be dynamic and it could have this like crazy story essentially, you know? Like it could have a complex and dynamic story and like be super interesting and entertaining. And then School Rumble got me super interested in the fact that like anime can also be like really funny, you know? Cuz in high school when I was only really watching One Piece, everybody would sit down and kind of complain about how anime is kind of cringy, you know? Cuz there's a lot of anime that is kind of cringy. But with anime being cringy, you know, I honestly never thought that it could be funny, right? I really honestly, truthfully didn't think that anime could be overly funny. Because it was just so cringy, and the stuff that I watched was pretty cringy, you know? But School Rumble, even though School Rumble is kind of cringy, there's a lot to School Rumble that just is like, this is great! I'm laughing, I'm having a good time with it, you know? So, something I didn't really expect to be, like, something that I thought anime was capable of, because... Especially because, like, all the weird kids in high school back in the day were, like, the ones who were interested in anime, you know? So, you kind of felt weird being one of those kids who sat there and was like, oh, yeah, anime's great, right? Like, am I right? You know? So, it was kind of difficult because I was like, I really don't know what I'm gonna do. Because I don't want to be, like, I don't want to hang out with those kids because Gibraltar, that is the easiest to dodge and deny thing that you've done. So I didn't want to hang out with those kids because like they're the weirdos, you know, and they were watching anime that I was like super uninterested in. So for me, I was really struggling. I was really struggling in high school to watch it. But then I went to a vocational school, which I can talk about probably another day because there's a lot to me going to the vocational school that I went to. That never really kind of... It'd be very difficult for me to talk about all the things that happened in my vocational school. While I'm on stream talking about anime, so just gotta keep that in mind, I guess. There's another team here. That's why they're getting flattened. There's another team. I will come back for you.
Banner is right there.
I just can't deal with two teams right now.
Getting my eyes in the sky. Switching to drone view. The champion is gone and forgotten.
Sorry, I gotta concentrate a little bit, because if I blow up my drone now, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to recover him.
Got the banner. I'm not giving up on them.
They'll just blind off. I need to go that direction. I guess we're not going that direction then, huh?
I'm good to go. Let's relocate here.
But anyway, so that's cool. So those two things showed me that, like, the stuff that I didn't think was capable with anime, because I still kind of saw it as cartoons. It took until my vocational school and until
I'm recalling my
that kind of like moment in time for me to really understand that it was from a different country. So I honestly thought that it was just like, oh, it must have just been this like cool cartoon that existed back in the day, like whatever, you know. But apparently it's you know, this huge industry over in Japan and yada yada, you know. So I really appreciated that those two shows kind of came along in my life, because without it, I would have otherwise not been interested in anime at all, you know. And anime has done a lot for me in my life, right? Like there is a lot about anime that has vastly improved the way that I like look at the world and the way that I see things. And I know that sounds a little like much, because again, there is a lot of cringe and just nastiness whatever in anime, and there's just a lot of stupid nonsense in anime too. But I think there really is, and there really has been in recent years, many more reasons to sit and watch anime, because there's a lot of great like standalone stories now than there was back in the day with anime, where there's like there's unique, interesting stuff to watch now, you know. Like not all of it is just like, oh, it's all mecha, or oh, it's all just, you know, school, you know, high school anime shows, right? Like a lot of it has kind of started to turn into like, no, there's like this, you know, grand story that can be told in anime, you know, just like any other, you know, stuff that could be interesting in the world, like books and things. And so to me, I just really love anime. I love the storytelling that happens in anime, and not all of it, right? Like, and I think that's the thing that really upsets me about some people when they start to approach anime, is because they sit there and they're like, ah, my friend is like a big goober and he loves anime, nothing but anime, right? And it's like, yeah, you know, there's goobers like that, right? You know, there's people who just do not get it, right? But for as many people as there is that don't get it, there's people that do. You know, there's people that do understand it and do kind of like understand that anime is anime, and by some extension, just, you know, anything that's animated, right? Like can be something that's worth your time, you know. So for me, it's just kind of like, it's great. I really think it's great. And the thing you have to kind of keep in mind is that anime is kind of just built for everybody, the layman, the, you know, like the hyper intelligent, if you will. Right? It's just a good way to describe the type of mentality that authors have when they write for it, you know. That I thought that was a person and not a prowler.
Topping up my shields.
um,
Fencing.
so yeah, there is a lot to anime that I think is really worth your time. And if you have had somebody wet and wild come up to you and be like, anime is crazy great, right? Like a big, like your stereotypical like anime nerd weirdo who comes up to you and is like, yeah, that like, like anime, right? Like it's so good, right? Like, oh, right? It is one of those things where it's like, just take the minute and chill out, right? Like, go and look on any streaming platform of your choosing, at least the stuff that's free, and sit down and just kind of like look through the anime. Just see if something looks kind of interesting. And if it's kind of interesting, just give it a chance, right? Because like, there's definitely a lot of stuff out there that is just kind of weird, wet and wacky wild. But there is quite a lot of stuff that is actually decent and worth watching in anime. But that more or less concludes my anime watching experience. After I started to get really hooked on anime with Hulu, and I started to meet people who weren't total weirdos, it started to become a lot easier, like significantly easier, to be interested in anime, and like keep going with it. Because like I would sit there and he'd be like, take it.
Kraber here.
We need to kind of set up in a position that's good for that, though.
Watching that direction.
Is there somebody in that tower?
Yeah, we're on the grid.
There's an extended energy mag here. So, like a capacitor. I get that. Level 4.
I don't have a lot of crafting mats. Should we try and take that tower? Oh, okay.
Patching into my eye in this
So...
I'll let you know what I see. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On the
Right.
next ring location.
It's not gonna let me do
It's on
anything.
your map.
Well, that's how I got into anime. And then Hulu shut off their, free-to-play, like, just watch the ads kind of thing. And then I got really upset at Hulu, because Hulu was where I was watching a lot of anime. I mean, like, ironically, at the same point, anime wasn't, like, really big at that time yet, right? And so there was still a lot of time for that kind of thing to sit and develop and become a bigger thing. We are almost at the last ring, and
This gravity cannon is a feat of ingenuity. Let's test it.
I will guard this area.
we are in the ring if we stay here. Oh. Alright, not good.
Bleeding out.
No, she had the Kraber. Oh.
Executing
Ah. And now they can see me. No, there was still 8 people, and that next ring was going to be almost the last ring. That's ridiculous. We were in 8th place, and I only got 5 points. Oh, that's so ridiculous. That was such a long match, and we were still only in 8th place. This is why I think it's ridiculous that they changed their competitive play style. Because now, if you want to get points, the best thing that you can do is sit down and just go for longevity instead of actually sitting down and really putting in the time and effort to... Why is it so laggy on here? That actually put in the time and effort to, like, get good and get kills, It's not about kills anymore. It's just about, like, getting to the end of the game. now that they've kind of like set it up the way that they have, where kills don't mean anything, you know? Which is just ridiculous because there was 8 teams left. 8 teams had yet to conflict by that point in the game. It's ridiculous. And those guys we encountered had red shields, right? Like they were stacked. And there was still 8 more people to sit down and grind through. That's ridiculous. Ugh, I'm so upset. I'm so upset. So upset. Anyway, we could talk about anime later. I'm sure I'm gonna watch something between now and next time I stream. We could talk about that. There's plenty of other animes that I've sat down and loved and have enjoyed in the past, if you will. I don't know if I want to necessarily be 100% an anime streamer because I found it kind of difficult to stick with anime recently. Again, why is that so laggy? Looks like it's kind of picking up again, but is it that laggy in the stream for you guys? It looks like it is. Oh, no, it looks like it's doing okay. So I don't know. Maybe it just lagged out for a hot minute there. What was I on about? Oh, I've had a difficult time getting back into anime recently because the trends with anime in the last couple years have just been like, check it out. It's this interesting isekai that we're never going to follow up on and only do 14 episodes of. Even though the story is built to be like, you know, a 500 episode story, we're only going to release 14 episodes and it's not going to mean anything. So I've just kind of like really have been super uninterested in that kind of thing recently. And then on top of that too, there's just been a lot of just like boring repeat, like check it out, it's a high school anime kind of thing, you know, which I've been struggling with because it's like if you've seen like 2 or 3 high school animes, you've seen all of the high school animes. The only thing that's different is changing and tweaking one small little thing. That's it. You just sit and change and tweak one small little thing. Right? Like this is an anime where they're in high school, but the protagonist knows how to use magic. Whoa. You know, it's like it's a high school anime, but like the main protagonist can read people's minds. Whoa, you know, and so it's it's just if you like the visual style of the characters and the hook is kind of interesting enough for you, I can say go for it with high school animes, but for me, I feel like I've seen one, I've seen them all. Like I feel like high school tropes and tropes in anime have well enough kind of gone the way of the dodo at this point. I think stuff is starting to get a little overplayed and a little jaded in the anime scene right now. Um, and I know what you're thinking, like, well, that's how it's been forever because School Rumble had all those same tropes, but it's like, yeah, but they had different tropes back in the day, right? Like different things made it kind of interesting back in the day, right? It's still different enough from nowadays high school anime that like there's something interesting and viable to it. So I don't know. I just again those are the 2 trends that have kind of happened in the last couple of years is isekai and high school stuff. And those to me have just been really boring, and I just kind of haven't been overly interested. Which is kind of upsetting because like what do you do? But there have been really great shows that I've been super interested in, right? Like Attack on Titan was finished in the last couple years, right? That's an incredible standalone story that there's not a lot of tropiness to, right? And then there's Demon Slayer. There's a lot of tropiness to Demon Slayer, but it's still animated incredible, and the characters are very enjoyable, and the premise is really fun, and the aesthetic is just beautiful. And so just like everything about that show for me, I just really enjoy. Um, so I've been watching that. I've been trying to, at least, because it's stuck behind a paywall for me. but that's just how it be. That's just how it be sometimes. Um, and then I have also watched within the last couple of years Doctor Stone, which I thought was great, and I loved Doctor Stone to all heck and gone, but they kind of have just decided that like, oh, yeah, we're just not going to do anything. You know, like we're just not going to do anything with it. It's just kind of going to fly under the radar and disappear. And then I'm sure COVID was an issue with it too, but that kind of just like disappeared. And then I got really interested in ReZero like years back, but then they kind of haven't really done anything with that, you know. And then I I know that not a lot of people liked Goblin Slayer too much, but I liked Goblin Slayer, and they've been taking forever with coming out with a season 3 of that. I just want to watch more goblins be just decimated. I don't know. It's the only like hyper violent anime that I've really thought has been kind of interesting. Um, Aside from Berserk that I've overly seen. And so that's just I guess why I want more Goblin Slayer, because I want there to be more to it. I also want as much as I want there to be more goblins with Goblin Slayer, I also want them to kind of like go on normal quests for a minute and just like kind of show how like going on a normal quest like shakes up the Goblin Slayer, you know? I don't know how it looks. I'm sure they have the story all written out in the manga, you know, going forward by like 3 or 4 seasons. But it's still one of those things where it's like, man, they need to come out with more. They need to come out with more anime to Goblin Slayer. There's a lot. There's a lot of animes that I still want more of. I'm still looking for a season 3, I think season 3 of No Game No Life. I'm still looking for that. That hasn't come out, you know. I guess it kind of has. They released the movie, which was like kind of part of the story and is supposed to represent a decent part of the story and what's happening. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, it's just annoying, and so that's why I haven't really liked anime in the last good while, is because anime in the last good while has just been stuff that like has been forgettable. They'll just come out with an isekai and be like, check this out, isn't this great? Haha. And then they'll do 14 episodes and it will definitely never come back. and you can definitely tell which ones will not come back for a season 2, you know. And so it's like, what do I do? Sit down and watch a bunch of, you know, high school animes that I'm just gonna like get bored the heck and gone with? Or am I gonna sit down and watch a bunch of isekais that are just gonna disappear after X amount of time, you know? So I don't know. I've been finding it difficult to sit down and really get interested in the current atmosphere of anime. But I'm really hopeful because Spy X Family has been so far. The first episode was great. So hopefully it continues to be equally as interesting and great. But I might have to sit down and buy some services though if I'm gonna sit down and actually watch any of it, because they just want to hide it behind a paywall, which is very frustrating and annoying. Because the only services that my like family proper has paid for is like Netflix and Disney Plus, and off and on I think we'll buy a third one for like a month or two. But you know, like nobody in my family is interested in anime. It's just me. So if I'm gonna sit down and watch anime, it's gonna have to be me sitting down and watching anime. So and paying for the services and stuff. And I know people are like, oh, but why don't you pirate it? And it's like, no, pirating is not what I want to do. So, in any case, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day here. We have done 2 hours. This one's lasted about a minute, or it's in a minute. This one's it felt like it has only really been a couple minutes. This one's been about an hour 20. I was able to sit down and talk about quite a lot more this time when I was playing Apex instead of when I was just quietly sitting there and brooding playing Valorant. So I don't think we're ever really honestly going to go back to Valorant. I really was struggling with Valorant there, guys. Like it's really one of those things that I can't play and talk over, and it just bums me out playing Valorant because there's just so much of Valorant where if you die quickly, then you're just standing around for 4 or 5 minutes doing absolutely nothing. And I know that some of the other games I play is like that, but it seems especially more prevalent in Valorant because like you can sit down and like spend your whole match building up points to sit down and get the really good sniper, and then you just die in the first 20 seconds of the match, and then you just have to sit there and watch as your team gets steamrolled, or maybe they're like really good and they're like kind of fighting each other and it's taking its time, the match, and then that sucks because you're just kind of like sitting around like, cool, so I just spent the whole thing sitting down and trying to get this stuff, and then I super couldn't even use it, and like and so it's just kind of annoying. It's just very annoying. I don't think it's the kind of thing I can really get into long term. I think there's a reason I sat down and stopped playing Valorant, and I think I found out what that reason was tonight. So and it's just not a good streaming game. It's just not a good streaming game. So I think we're just gonna call it quits with that. What I am kind of interested in doing is sitting down and going through some of the old games that I have for like Xbox and stuff, because I still, or even the Switch, because I do have a lot of JRPG type stuff for the Switch that I haven't sat down and played, especially like Final Fantasy. I have like 3 or 4 of the Final Fantasies on my Switch that I bought like 2-ish some odd years ago that I have not sat down and played because it's just I've been sitting around enough to get disconnected. I have not played it because there's just so much nostalgia behind it, and there's just so much to it that like finding the moment in my life to sit down and like play it properly, um, and like give it the time it deserves. It just has been difficult, which I don't even know fully why, because I have plenty of reasons to sit down and play old games in my life, just kind of sitting around and relaxing. So one of these days, I'll sit down and do it. I'm probably gonna have to borrow my brother's capture card though, because my capture card works and it works well enough, but my capture card, whenever I come across certain textures, for some reason, certain textures will cause my capture card to freak out, right? I don't know what it is, but my capture card will just freak out if I go across certain textures when playing games on the Switch with it. Um, and so I'm probably just gonna have to ask for my brother to lend me his if we're gonna sit down and stream um, some Switch games because like almost every Switch game that I've played with my capture card has gone wrong. It just has gone wrong. It just freaks out. And it just creates this like epilepsy effect. In Splatoon, if you enter the like Splatoon 2, if you enter the like little battle arena, like elevator kind of space in the front zone of the area, uh, once you go up the slope in that area, it'll immediately and consistently and always freak out and just have an issue. But like you can play it for like 30-40 minutes otherwise and you'll never have the issue, but like just certain textures or certain visual effects or something just causes my capture card to freak out. So I'm gonna have to probably just ask my brother to borrow his because my capture card is just wicked. It's just so wild, man. It just does not work. And maybe I'll have to just sit down and buy a capture card properly anyway, because I did say I wanted to sit and play Kirby. So hopefully we can sit down and play Kirby at some point. And then also just all the other stuff that I have on there, because I have a lot of games on there that I maybe want to sit down and play. Um, I did also look up how much Jump King was, and it's about $12 or so. The reason I hesitate spending $12 on it is because I know for a fact that even if I spend 20 hours getting to the top of the game world and like getting the babe, even if it takes me like 20 hours, I feel like I'm not going to enjoy myself for 20 hours or even like 12 hours for that matter. And so a huge part of me is just kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to spend money on something I know I'm not going to enjoy, you know? So I'm waiting for it to go on sale, put it on my wish list, so hopefully somewhere down the line we'll sit down and play some Jump King. I can't guarantee it. Oh, I also looked up that Fall Guys is going free to play on the 25th or the 21st. Sometime at the end of the month, Fall Guys is coming out for free. I have wanted to play it for quite some time. Uh, it is a very simple game, so I'm gonna get tired of it probably pretty quickly. But I did want to sit down and try streaming that and try playing that with you guys. Because it's always looked very simple and very easy to play. And whenever you sit down and watch people play it, they're like, I can't make this simple looking jump. Like I don't get it. And it's like, all right, I want to try it. I want to see if it really is. It really is as difficult as these streamers make it out to be. So, might sit down and play that sometime at the end of the month. So, just kind of keep an open eyes and ears. I'm sorry that today we sat down and played just two competitive games back to back instead of having a like cool down, chill kind of stream for the second hour. I just felt really bad about Valorant, and I just really felt like we needed to sit down and play some Apex. We just really needed to sit down and play some Apex today. So in any case, look out for it. I don't know what my tomorrow looks like. I'll probably be able to stream tomorrow. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to. I know I definitely have an hour at the very least of free time tomorrow to sit down and stream. So I'll go ahead and probably sit down and stream. I'm probably going to use most of my time tomorrow to just sit down and relax because I got burned while I was helping my brother from being outside. I think I mentioned that, but I sat and put a bunch of aloe vera gel all over my body, and it's helped. But I'm gonna be all burnt, and all of it is gonna set in tomorrow of like how exhausted I got from helping him out today. So even though I feel bad today, it's gonna get worse tomorrow. So, but I'm sure that we could sit down and play something, whether that's more Apex or some other kind of game. But look forward to it. Look forward to it if you guys want to hang out for a minute. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day here. I probably should have 30 some odd minutes or so ago, but we're gonna go ahead and call it a day here specifically because I have been running for about an hour, 30 minutes or so. Normally I only like to do about 2 hours per day. I think I just kind of got caught up in it, and I got upset at Valorant so much that I felt like I should do something else. But again, I like to make a point, and I like to put some pressure on the idea of having a little bit more of a healthy lifestyle. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, don't drink soda, don't eat things that aren't healthy. You probably shouldn't, but that's not my big focus. My big focus with health is standing up, walking around, so that you don't get, so that you don't really have too many problems because you can develop quite a lot of serious problems by spending way too much sitting down, for long periods of time. You can get blood clots, you can have all these other issues. Among those things, right, like gaining weight is also something you can have happen if you sit down and you just spend your whole life sitting down. So, even though it's not going to solve even though it's not going to solve anybody's weight problems by just standing up every hour or periodically, it will kind of help you out a little bit. It'll kind of let the blood flow through your body, let your muscles move around, help you feel a little bit more relaxed. So take the chance to get up and walk around if you haven't gotten up and walked around for a minute. Stay hydrated is another big thing that I like to push. Drink some water, and like water. You can maybe get away with Gatorade if you've been working out or something for the last while. But make sure you drink some water, get some electrolytes in you. And then it is late where I am. It usually is when I end stream. So the last big thing that I like to say is, and make a push on, is get some good sleep. Right? Like sleep is incredibly important. It's something that really dictates how you feel throughout the whole day and how you feel about falling asleep the next day. And then it's just this recurring thing that, like, if you mess up way too much, you get in an incredibly bad habit and your life just suffers as a result. It's something I've struggled with quite significantly through my life. And if I can help in any way, encourage somebody else in this world to sit down and get some good healthy habits of going to sleep, hopefully I can do that for you. So to someone somewhere. So make sure you go ahead and get some good sleep. It's something that you really should do. It's something I'm trying to work on myself. Um, go ahead and try and get some good sleep. Do what you can to try and get some good sleep. And have a wonderful night. I really appreciate you guys for sticking by. We did do a lot of weird stuff today with Valorant. Apex Legends, we probably just lost points. Let me clip in real quick. We probably just lost points, so I appreciate you guys sticking around with me. Even though, no, we're about at the same number of points as what we started. Maybe a little bit less. So we probably lost points. I would have to go back and like look up every game that I played tonight, but we probably lost points or stayed exactly at the same place with Apex again tonight. So I really do appreciate you guys sticking around. Streaming is really fun in its own right, but I think it's even that much more fun with people. So I do appreciate you guys having stuck around with me and having hung out and having had a good time. So yeah, yeah, I really appreciate it. It has been streaming over the last week or so has been the kind of thing that has really brought my spirits up. Um, and the reason that I haven't set a schedule yet is because I don't know how much I'm willing to stream. I don't know how much I want to stream. And so I'm kind of more or less just trying to make it a habit one way or another. Um, but I am also kind of just like testing myself to see like how long can you stream for day after day before you kind of get burnt out and have to sit there and be like, nope, Saturday, I'm taking all Saturday off and we're not streaming on Saturdays, or never streaming on a Monday, or never streaming on a Tuesday. Right? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that out, and it's just going to have to be something that we go forward with from here. So, I don't know. Next time we stream, I really do feel like I want to sit down and play some Elden Ring again. We made a lot of progress. I just have to go and set up and I said I was gonna call it a day. Potentially look forward to Elden Ring next time I stream. Officially, right here, we're gonna call it a night. I'm sure I have a lot more to say next time we stream, especially if I don't play Valorant. Get some sleep, stand up, walk around, and get some water. And have an incredible night. I do really well appreciate it. I do really well feel like you guys being here really helps me out. Um, and it's something that I can say I really love and really enjoy. So have a good night and have a good life, I guess. I don't know, but I can at the very least say have a good night. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one though. So take care. Bye bye.